tell us, you're in the news, you're suing Donald Trump. And to be honest, I mean, I'm not trying to throw Trump under the bus. I'm happy what he did for January 6th, but a lot of the Epstein stuff, and there's a few other kerfuffles, I'm not too happy or satisfied with. I'm interested in joining this lawsuit with you. Is there room for me, Jacob?
Well, dude, if you look at the lawsuit, you'll see it's not just Donald Trump. It's the IMF, it's the Bank of International Settlements, it's the World Bank, it's the Fed, it's a lot of people, the State of Israel. I even threw them in there. There's a lot of entities in that lawsuit, dude. And so the idea is on the paperwork, it says is if there's any other like plaintiffs that are along with me, and I said every other American or something like that. So you're definitely on it. Everybody's on it in that regard.
Well, we definitely need to sue Israel. And you know, it's funny, our next guest is an Israeli debater, so maybe we can introduce you guys. That would be interesting. But real quick, I like some of the claims though that the central banking system and Federal Reserve are unconstitutional. I agree with that 100%. It literally is backed by nothing. When they took us off the gold standard, it basically makes us a fiat currency that is we give it value, but really and truly it could be worthless. Can you explain why the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional?
Absolutely. So first of all, when our founders decided to create our country, Alexander Hamilton was actually in favor of a central bank because he said it would make things easier. But the founders were vehemently against that in a large majority because of the way that the central bank centralizes power. Now, if you understand that the Constitution is designed to separate powers and keep them separated and keep checks and balances therein, then you realize that a central bank is kind of like the antithesis of the Constitution. And when Woodrow Wilson passed it in 1913, along with the corrupted Congress, basically what they did is they let in the Trojan horse. And then, like virus, like a computer virus, the bad code began to spread year after year after year after year. And this whole other system was created that is totally unconstitutional and actually centralizes power to less than 1% of the population because they're the ones that own the Fed or the central bank.
Well, and I agree with that, and I think more people need to realize that. And I also like how you say all radio stations and most of their DJs are part of the intelligence community, and that is true because we have a thing called Operation Mockingbird where the CIA even said that they have representation in every single media outlet, from the newspaper to the radio to the movies to streaming to everything. So I like that you're bringing attention to that. Now, this one is a little kind of weird. A scene in 2008, Christopher Nolan's directed Batman film, The Dark Knight, and many plot details in 2009's Avatar were cribbed from his writing and are proof that the NSA was spying on him. Now, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying those are arguably the two biggest movies of all time, Jacob. That seems like it, could be a little bit of a reach. They're literally the two biggest movies of those years.
Well, Alex, it's a straw man. That's a straw man argument. If you read the case, then what you realize is that what I'm suggesting is that in the movie The Dark Knight, which is, like you said, one of the biggest movies of all time, everybody saw it. There is a scene where the Joker burns a bunch of money and where the Joker, with a single phone call, blows up the police station. Now, if you understand the way that the intelligence community communicates, if you understand the way that my phone call to KFYI in 2008, where I talk about Tesla Tower technology and infinite free clean wireless electricity on the FCC controlled airwaves, then that was equivalent to blowing up the whole station with a single phone call. And in that phone call, I talked about burning money as a way of basically combating inflation and non-violently resisting the tyranny that's being pushed on us through the Fed. So when I saw that in The Dark Knight, I was like, that's interesting. Then I wrote my declaration. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that is interesting. But there's a lot of foreshadowing in all movies. So sorry, that's the point I was trying to make.
Well, I know, but here's what you have to understand is that in and of itself, it's insignificant and seems silly. But then when you dig into it a little bit deeper, if you dig into the case a little bit deeper, what you find is that in 2009, unbeknownst to anybody else in the world except for the intelligence agencies and the NSA, I wrote a Declaration of Independence and Nonviolent War where I basically said, I'm not going to cooperate with this government. This government is treasonous. And in that Declaration of Independence, which is in the case, the whole declaration is in the case, so you can read it for yourself. I basically make the case that this central power, this government is corrupt, that it's not serving the people, that it hasn't since the days of the Native Americans and all the treaties that it's broken and all the land that's been stolen. And, I talk about reclaiming that land on their behalf. And so this idea of this main character in the movie Avatar, like less than 6 months after I write this thing, is named Jake, and he's helping these people reclaim their land from, these evil industrial, tyrants, basically, that are trying to steal native land. And there's a lot more that goes into it. Something that you have to understand is that intelligence agencies or secret societies, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer said it best. They have 1,000 ways a Sunday of getting back at you if they seek to target you. Now, when you understand the way that a person's thoughts and emotions can be read through technology, through what's called psychotronic weaponry or neuroelectromagnetic weapons, the effects of which people are familiar with, it's called Havana syndrome. Yeah. If it's weaponized, you can liquefy people's insides. But that can also allow you to tap into people's thoughts, plant ideas in people's heads. It can also allow you to, say, start messing with what they perceive as reality. So they can start seeing some of the things that they're thinking or some of the things that they're doing in private on the silver screen in front of them. And I'll give you an example of a story I heard from somebody that was a satanic ritual abuse survivor out of Hollywood.
A survivor, okay. I thought you were going to say abuser, okay, abuse survivor. Sorry, you just clarify that.
Yeah, abuse survivor. Forgive me. She basically said that, story goes, this dude got his kids taken away from him by CPS for no good reason, and he kept trying to get his kids back. He only got to see his kids for an hour, maybe once a week at the most, and it was always supervised visits. In that hour, his kids are telling him that they were getting raped, and he was trying to do something about this. And he went to the woman that was, looking after his kids, and it was this old English woman, this tall old English woman, and with a very specific accent. And she kept assuring him that everything was fine and nothing was going on, but his kids kept saying they were getting raped. So he went to the cops, he went to the detectives, he went to the media, he went to everybody he could, went to CPS, and nobody was doing anything. Eventually, he took it to court, and in court, this woman, this old English woman, showed up with the kids and assured the judge that everything was fine. The police officer said they went to the home and said everything was fine, and blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, the guy lost custody of his kids. Everybody said he was nuts. He got kicked to the curb. Well, then a year later or less, this movie, Mrs. Doubtfire, comes out, where it just so happens that the woman that was taking this guy's kids from him looked just like Miss Doubtfire, sounded just like Miss Doubtfire. And the name Miss Doubtfire is indicative of this idea of doubting that there's a fire. You see? So what you have to understand, bro, is that when intelligence agencies decide they're going to target you, they have 1,000 ways a Sunday of making you miserable. They have 1,000 ways a Sunday of making you feel entirely isolated and alone.
That's 100% true. And one of the things I like, you want to move the Republic to Phoenix. I love the Phoenix area. Weren't you at Charlie's Memorial as well? I think I saw you there. I was there. Were you there?
I went shortly and briefly. I gave my respects. I'm not a big fan of crowds. Yeah. January 6th was an anomaly.
You were the leader of the crowd. I mean, that is an anomaly for sure. No, okay, but Jacob, there's a few more things we do have to hit on that are very interesting in this thing. Now, you were catfished by a Michelle Rodriguez lookalike. What is this all about? Was this a government agent pretending to be Michelle Rodriguez?
No, dude, I got a thing for her. Absolutely. I think she's beautiful.
She is.
I like her vibe. Yeah, I'm actually more interested in what she does, outside of her work, as far as in Hollywood, some of her charity work with kids, or, some of the other things that she's done. There's a documentary that she did called Reality of Truth, where it just so happens she's into everything that I'm into.
No, is she?
Anyway,
wait, real quick. No, but is she based? Is she kind of shamanistic or whatever? Is she into all that stuff?
Yeah. At least that's what it seems. I don't know about base. She's kind of a liberal, but the thing is that doesn't matter to me. The point of all of this is that I don't think it was her in the first place. I think it was the NSA, and I think that they were using her because they knew I kind of had a crush. They had a crush on her. They were using her as a way of getting to me and making me think that she was contacting me. And then they told me to keep it a secret, which I did. And then once it became clear that I could keep it secret, that's when they revealed their identity to me, that it was the NSA. And then after that, I started getting buzzed with like Black Hawk helicopters and shit.
Dude, Jacob, you are like, I know a lot of people are probably listening and they probably think what you're saying it sounds crazy, but I would honestly say that a lot of it makes sense. But at the same time, you probably thought it would be impossible that you would be the face of the world's biggest insurrection, right? So, I mean, is that an accident? Like, I don't think that that was an accident. I feel like you didn't mean to be, but they casted you in that role. Am I wrong for speculating that? Like, you were unwittingly the leader of the biggest, insurrection of all time.
This is how I look at it. The image that went out after my image went viral of the Simpsons character, that's photoshopped.
That's fake. So there was no real quick. I want to clarify that there was no Simpsons thing that was fake, because I know everybody posted some Simpsons thing with the horn. That was not predictive or anything.
That's right. It was fake. So, but all the other stuff like 9/11 or COVID or Donald Trump coming down the escalator or them putting their hand on the ball or whatever, all of these things were a part of Simpsons episodes. Okay. Now, if you understand the fact that Matt Groening is a Simpson as a Mason,
33rd degree.
Donald Trump is a Mason.
Was Donald Trump a 33rd degree Freemason?
I'm pretty sure Donald Trump's a Mason.
Wow.
I'm not gonna explain how or why I know that. I'm just gonna say I know it. And so when you also understand that most of our many of our presidents have either been Masons or a part of like the Illuminati or a part of the Rosicrucians, or, even something like being a part of the Vatican and being Catholic, that didn't really work out well for JFK. But, the idea here is that there's all these different ways of getting, quote unquote, in the club. If you dig what I'm saying.
No, I know. And I know you can just obviously skip lots of levels if you're powerful enough. Back to the lawsuit, I kind of want to wrap up. And then you're suing Israel. Now, what are some of your biggest complaints about Israel? I have a couple, but what do you think about the propaganda war that they're losing, and now they're paying people $7,000 a tweet? Would you not take $7,000 if Benjamin Netanyahu tried to, ask you to tweet something nice about Israel?
Dude, I turned down $50 million to put my face on an alcohol bottle.
What? What was it going to be? Was it a beer or liquor? What kind of alcohol?
Liquor. Yeah, it was liquor, like hard liquor. But I was like, no, dude, I'm not doing it. I'm not taking no 50. I don't care how much money you offer me. I'm not putting my face on alcohol bottle. So, $7,000 from Netanyahu, give me a break, dude. So I'll put it this way, dude. Whether it be Israel or the Fed, we're talking about the same entity. That's why I threw Israel in there. And what you have to understand is that the Fed and Israel, the same people that are behind them, they're using Israel as basically a proxy state to, in one way or another, act like a mask for their global New World Order. And they're using America through the proxy state of Israel and lobbying and all that stuff, and the Fed. So they got us with the Fed, they got us with Israel, and they're like pincering us, they're like squeezing us and moving us around. That's why Trump, dropped those 3 bombs on Iran. Okay, which without congressional approval, that is treason. Without declaration of war, that's basically treason, because Netanyahu asked him to do it. And then now he's like talking about going to war in Venezuela without any congressional declaration of war. Okay, so, and now he's also going to places like Portland and Chicago with the military. This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, I don't like the troops on the street. Now, you also said in the lawsuit that you are the rightful president. How is that possible?
Okay, so 1871, the Organic Act, the idea of the United States of America becoming a corporation.
Yes.
Right? We all know, when Ulysses S. Grant basically seceded to the New World Order, when the Vatican and the London Palace, the Rothschilds, who bankrolled both at that time and still, they came to Ulysses S. Grant. They said, look, you're in total debt. We're going to bail you out. Just be a part of this order, this Washington, D.C., London Palace, Vatican order. So when Ulysses S. Grant did that, he basically moved us away from the old republic. He moved us away from the old constitutional republic by putting us on this corporate American system. You see?
Yeah.
Now, in 1913, another level got added to that with the Federal Reserve Bank. So we got more deeply entrenched in this corporate American system, which is once again unconstitutional. And then after that, we get into World War One. And then after that, we have this massive bureaucratic growth, with FDR and basically communism in the United States. And that's why we have this massive regulatory bureaucracy that's still slowing us down and ruining our lives. And then you have World War II, and then we bring Nazis over after World War II and place them at the highest levels of government power, appointed power. All of these things are acts of treason. Okay? All of these things are acts of treason. Okay,
the Operation Paperclip was really bad.
Them are also.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, Operation Paperclip in and of itself, right? That in and of itself, right? So the idea here is that the old republic was unmanned. Okay, the old republic, the old constitutional republic was abandoned. And they brought us out onto this maritime law, right? They brought us out onto this corporatized law. That's why we have the gold fringes around the flag, and that's why we go to the Fed and all that stuff. We're on maritime law.
That's why it's called the birth certificate.
Republic, which is not on maritime law, was unmanned. Well, and that is the republic that I saved.
Oh, I see.
That is the republic that I manned.
The old one,
that is
not the current.
I said,
not the current maritime law, because that's why it's called like a birth certificate. That's why it's like that's why it's called a court of law, because you play a game on a basketball court. Like, there's all these kind of weird stuff that they talk about, this maritime law stuff, and how you don't have freedom, you actually have liberty.
Oh.
You have liberty. You don't have freedom.
It's the code, Alex. It's in the language, and it's in the code. So when we get into the lawsuit, and why I'm saying I'm the rightful president is because I'm the only one, at least that I know of, that has a record of the fact that I have resisted this system to the nth degree, that I've done everything I can to bring it to its knees, to end it, to not participate in it. And I've also done everything I can to protect the constitutional republic of the United States, including being willing to sacrifice my own life. And I have the legal documentation to prove this. And I also have the legal documentation to prove the treason of the government over the course of decades.
Well, so how do we crowdfund this?
I've taken.
Have you made a link to Have you made a link to crowdfund this yet?
No, dude. Listen, what I need from people is their support, their time, their attention. Well, what I need from them is to share the truth. What I need from them is their support when I go to court. Okay? Because here's the thing. If look at it like this, I'm doing this for everybody. Not just me and future and like my future, but everybody's future generations, for the seventh generation, because we're experiencing fifth generation warfare right now. Right?
Yeah.
So the idea here is that the only way we're going to win is if somebody has a plan that is essentially fifth or sixth generation warfare that pushes back against the other plan and uses that momentum against them to end up creating a better country. And that's what the plan, or the legal code, the good legal code that I'm placing into the bad legal code system, is designed to do. Now, final point, and I'll try to make this fast. I am the real president. I'm the only one that has a legitimate claim to it, because I have the legal proof that I've resisted the old system, tried to repair the old system, resisted this new one, this corrupt one rather, and that I've actually, in one way or another, attempted to do so without ever firing a shot, without ever actually having drawn any blood, but only sacrificing of myself, right? So in doing that, there is like an opportunity that the public has to use this legal loophole that I have found within my lawsuit when I sue the system, use this legal lawsuit to go through this loophole. There's something called full spectrum dominance, Alex. We talked about it before. I'm just going to go over it briefly. It's a military term. It means control over every aspect of a country's life, every aspect of an individual's life. It starts first with psychological warfare and the domination of the mind through propaganda and mind control, okay, MK Ultra type stuff. And once you control the mind of the country or the person, you control the land, the air and the airspace, the seas and the waters. You control the subterranean, deep underground military bases, extraterrestrial, space and satellites, chemical and biological agents, the currency, the technology, cell phones, cell phone towers, televisions, radios, etc. You control all of that because you first control the mind. So what this lawsuit does is it gives everybody the opportunity to put on a new mind, to put on a new hat, to see things a little bit differently and choose new leadership. And do so without ever firing a shot. Because you guys, in all honesty, I want you to really think about it. The other option is this. you trust a government that says there is no Epstein client list, keep sending your money and your people over to either Israel or to Ukraine. They're not tending to Maui. They're not tending to LA. They're not tending to North Carolina. They're not tending to Texas, who just got flooded out. Like they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not ending the Fed. They haven't done anything as far as
They're spraying more stuff in the
lobbying.
sky. I'm saying they're doing more chemtrails. That's why it flooded in Texas. So they're adding crap that we don't need.
So that's pretty much where it's at. That's all I wanted to really say was that, like, you guys, this is our best shot, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? So being sane would be doing something different. And we have all the legal proof that we need. These people in their secret societies, they've published what it is that they believe and what it is that they're going to do. No,
they do.
We don't even need all of that if you just look at the lawsuit.
Well, they have to reveal it. That's part of their moral, compass, whatever. As they feel less bad if they kind of, reveal it to us, and then we just willingly choose to participate. I'm so fly, I'm aligned with the planes. My grind so refined, I got no time for no games. Ask yourself why.